Okay, next up is our night talk, the last talk of the day, with Ralf Diro. He's going to provide us with a little comparison between threats as they're presented by the media and the actual reality.
Yeah, okay. Hi, and welcome. Um, yeah, hi to you as well. Yes, well, just a few words about me. I'm with McAfee now for like 15 years, originally starting our virus research lab in Hamburg as a researcher. And after, well, quite a lot of time in front of debuggers, I thought debuggers are just lame and staring at other people's broken code just doesn't cut it. So nowadays, I'm kind of representing our McAfee Labs research to the outside. Yeah, what I'm going to cover today is a little bit an insight into what's actually going on out there at the moment, and also it's, looking a little bit about well, what data is normally presented or what data is available in like the public news or in marketing materials, and what the real threats are nowadays. Yeah, when we're looking at the threat landscape, currently, there is just a massive number of different pieces of malware out there. It is such massive that you may have seen that antivirus products have stopped counting malware. Like 2 years ago, every product would proudly display we detect 465,798 pieces of malware. All those numbers are now gone from most of the products for a couple of fairly obvious reasons. One of the reasons is demonstrated by this number. Currently, on every single day in our global research, we are getting round about 50,000 unique pieces of binaries submitted for research. And from those 50,000 pieces, still 95% and more are now static. We are still talking about antivirus products, but viruses are just like only 5% of the entire detections that the current products actually do have. And they are maybe around about 1% of all the binaries that are being submitted. So they don't seem to be a very big problem at the moment. There are still new viruses being written from time to time, that many. And then most samples that we are getting, most Trojans, most downloaders, they are nothing new. We have seen the exactly same Trojan before, and then people just packed it, repacked it, just to avoid detection from malware. This has led to quite a drastic increase in the number of unique samples. This is from AV-Test, from Andreas Mark, and currently he is seeing around about 1 million unique different binaries representing malware. And adding all this together, in October we have now topped the 30 million barrier. Now this may look quite dramatic, but if we are looking at the technology of it, that is being used, we are also seeing that the malware that is being developed is increasingly sophisticated. Technologies that were discussed like 2-3 years ago are now actually in use. And technologies like a rootkit technology is now so common with malware that we actually have stopped analyzing or looking at it. We don't really care if a piece of malware comes with a rootkit functionality or not, as long as we are able to detect it. We simply don't have the time and resources to really look into this. So nowadays it's fair to assume that all pieces of malware that you encounter come with some kind of rootkit technology. And very often this rootkit technology comes not as a separate bundle, but is integrated with the Trojan itself. Yeah, the motivation behind that has changed a lot. Previously, the motivation for people of breaking into websites was, well, basically for fame. They would write funny things on the website and have bragging rights on the schoolyard. And the same used to be true for viruses, Trojans, etc., written by kids just for the purpose of bragging rights, Yeah, did you see Bild covered my great virus in an article on the weekend? Nowadays, the motivation is just money. Most of the malware that we're seeing today, over 90%, is only written for the purpose of getting money. Worms like Configure, they make the big press. Everyone wrote about Configure. And Configure still makes a quite nice botnet even today. Currently, there are still around about 7 million infected machines running Configure. And the people behind still don't do anything with those machines. We don't know if they lost interest or if they're just scared or if they have just no idea what to do with 7 million infected machines. If you look at the Configure Working Group website from time to time, they still track the number, and if there would be any activity ongoing, then they would probably tell us. But the real threat is normally not a big thing like Configure, but just a small attack with a limited number of Trojans that are being delivered to people. And well, the result of the financial motivation is that people constantly develop new Trojans or constantly change the Trojans that they have been written previously, basically just to avoid AV detection, just to remain on an infected machine longer. That's why all the toolkit stuff has become so very common. If a user has problems detecting the malware in his machine, then you can control the machine longer, get more money with that. And everything nowadays there is motivated by money. So we have 30 million plus malware samples, so basically we are completely screwed. Well, not really. The total number may look really, really big, but of those 30 million, 99.9% are actually samples that you will never, ever encounter again. People now create a piece of malware just to use it once, just to send it out with one single spam campaign, and then never use it again, or recycle it by repacking it, making sure that current AV doesn't detect it any longer. So from those 30 million, there are maybe a couple of thousands that are out there that make up the actual problem. Most of the remaining 29-something million samples do make a very good impression in comparative AV reviews, but they are not really relevant to the outside world. Then, for the bad news, well, criminals love VirusTotal and similar services. Actually, they don't use VirusTotal as much because VirusTotal would give the samples to the AV industry. But there are other multi-scanner systems that allow an attacker to create his Trojan, package it, and then upload it, and find out which virus scanner does provide detection for it, change it, update it, and finally, when they are done with that, they know that with the current signatures, with the current heuristics, no virus scanner on the planet will detect that Trojan at the moment when they're sending that out. So that's one, well, fairly sad part of reality today. Or at least for the more important attacks, the attackers can guarantee that there is no antivirus protection against such a piece of software. Then also because so much stuff is repackaged and over again, the real number of the threats that we are looking at is also significantly lower. Currently, the unique malware growth for 2009 is not like 20 million pieces, but round about 2 million different strains of Trojans. And in many cases, those are just slight modifications, slight updates to the same Trojans. So the number of Trojan families actually is much, much lower than those 30 millions that normally is talked about. Well, then to come to one technology that has become fairly popular over the last 12 months, with the problem that criminals are sending out malware where there is no current antivirus protection. Possible solutions were being tried how to update the customers faster. And the current state of the art there is moving part of the detection out into the cloud. That's the train that every AV vendor and basically also many other security vendors are trying to jump on, saying, yeah, we now offer some kind of in-the-cloud protection. Well, what does this actually mean? The currently used cloud methods basically have a large database of hashes, of fingerprints, of files inside a database. And this database is updated automatically every time when they see a new Trojan, every time when there is a new detection for a static piece of malware. Then this database is updated with the hash of this file automatically. Now, if a user encounters a suspicious file on his machine that is not discovered with signatures or heuristics, etc., but it is suspicious, then the cloud service is queried with a hash of that file. And inside that cloud, there are already all the new detections that have been added since the last time the signature files were created and being sent out. The major benefit of this is that this is extremely fast in delivering a new detection to a customer and react to maybe a Trojan campaign where something new has been sent out, which normal AV doesn't detect, but that would be detected with cloud services like Artemis. Now, what makes a file suspicious? There are fairly large decision trees that are being walked through when a file is not being detected by AV. This is just a fairly simple example of what those decision trees could look like. Like, is the file bigger than 1 megabyte? No. Has it been compiled recently? Yes. Does the extension mismatch? Yes. Then it may be a suspicious file that then would be sent, where then the cloud service would be queried. So in this case, well, basically one and the same file, notepad, either just present as a file, or notepad packed and installed as an autorun would yield completely different results in those decision trees. So if a packed file is being run as an autorun, then immediately we assume this is very suspicious and we ping our cloud services with that. Now, what can those services actually achieve? Of course, every vendor says, yeah, this is now the greatest service ever, and you are now like completely protected just by our products. Unfortunately, it's not the complete magic silver bullet. For one thing, it is only good against static malware. With malware, with Trojans or other kind of malware that are delivered with a server-side polymorphism, there is no protection against those. And there is no protection against viruses. Viruses infect other files. You would have completely different fingerprints for each infected files. So nothing can be done against viruses with this kind of technology. And also you need to be online. Like if I would now plug a USB stick onto my machine, I'm not online, then unfortunately those services cannot help me. The only thing that those services, the only problems that those cloud security services or cloud scanning services solve are the time from from first having a detection and delivering the detection to a customer, and then possibly also for the size of the DAT files. Some AV vendors are thinking or doing some kind of outsourcing of part of their detection or part of these more time-consuming and space-consuming detection and removal instructions somewhere into the cloud, just having a basic detection first, trying to make the DAT file size much smaller. But there is one big bonus that we are getting from the cloud services. We do get quite a lot of information. The information that we are getting is, well, obviously the fingerprint of the file in question, and we get the IP address from your ISP, who is actually then relaying, in our case, the Artemis request to us via DNS. So we can see if a new piece of code suddenly comes out of existence and is being picked up in various places all over the world, then we immediately know there's something very fishy going on, and then we can start hunting for that file. Or in some cases, we can even automatically blacklist that file, assuming this file is evil, based on it hasn't existed before, and suddenly it pops up all over the world. This comes with the possibility of false alarms, but then those false alarms are also very easy fixed. We don't need to distribute that files to all customers. We can just move a hash in the database from assumed evil to the category of known clean files. With visibility, we can also check. Well, for one thing, we know the DAT version, so we know how many people are actually using out-of-DAT files. Currently, it's normally like 80 to 90% of all machines have at least DATs from the same day or the day before. So people are doing a much better job in updating their DATs. And we're getting also the category where the file was originally coming from. And then a little bit to our surprise, we figured out that most detections coming by Artemis actually were not detection where someone was browsing over the internet and downloading some dodgy file. And well, most of those files actually would cause a query to Artemis. But the highest rate of files that well, turned up on a machine were files that were copied over from remote to the actual machine. In most cases via USB stick. And well, this category is a little bit well, obfuscated by Configure, because also Configure copies itself over the network on a machine. And so Configure is severely overrepresented in this small breakdown. Yeah, as I said, with the visibility that we are having in the background, we can see where requests are coming from. In the picture down there, the initial request for a new file that we have never seen before are represented by those white dots. And this is kind of the typical global breakout representation when someone launches a major spam campaign using a Trojan, or when someone places a Trojan for download on lots of web pages. And so when we see such a distribution on a file we've never seen before, then we tend to automatically blacklist it. So then we can continue to monitor where this file is actually being, where on the world this file is actually present. But all those red dots also represent that the cloud security in this case could already tell to the client, this file is very likely suspicious, allowing users to block this file. And in this case, this happened like 2 hours before we got the first real copy of that file, where we then could verify that it indeed was a Trojan. Yeah, for some future protection mechanisms, as this was not the silver bullet, maybe the other two are, no, not. The technologies that we are likely to see in the future are, for one thing, true behavior-based detection. Currently, no AV vendor does true behavior-based detection, no matter what their marketing material implies. With true behavior-based detections in the future, well, basically a process would be monitored over the complete time it is running, monitoring for one thing, for known fingerprints of malicious processes, and then also monitored generally for malicious activity, allowing even a Trojan that is dormant for a while and only starts with some activity maybe after half an hour, or maybe only if a certain banking website is browsed to, then this kind of technology will be able to then also kill the process and also undo all those changes. You can expect to see that technology maybe around the end of next year being used by vendors. And another technology that we will see more in the future is the more use of whitelisting. Whitelisting applications means not only having like a bunch of fingerprints of known bad applications, but also having fingerprints of known known good applications, which would then, for one thing, speed up scanning quite a lot, and then also would, well, basically it's prevent changes to known system files and other files on your system. Well, the driving economy force that is behind all those Trojans are, well, a kind of real underground economy nowadays. We do have like two basically different groups. One thing is a full-blown criminal organized crime operations. Those are groups with the guys with the nice chicks and the big cars at the top. And then you have several parts of the group being responsible for developing the malware, distributing the malware, administrating the malware, extracting data from the victims, and then also using the data to launder it, to transfer the money back to the top of the organization so that they can buy their next fast car. And then there are a lot of small specialized groups that just focus on one thing. Many of those just focus on creating malware, selling this malware. Some others just use malware that they buy somewhere to obtain credit card information or other people's data and then sell this kind of data in various underground forums. There are forums pretty much for everything on the internet. Here's just a quick view of one of those forums, where in this case they are selling complete dumps of the magnetic stripe, all the information that you would actually need to counterfeit a credit card. And well, there are basically just two ways how people can get at that kind of information. One way is installing a skimmer in front of an ATM machine. That is still happening today. The more common way, however, is just to try to break into a clearinghouse or to break into a corporate network and try to catch the data while it's transferred from the point of sales to the processing somewhere else in the company. This breaking into a clearinghouse is at the moment also big in the news. It hasn't really been discussed publicly before, and just like the last couple of days, a lot of German credit banks well, they are reissuing credit cards to thousands of their customers who have been using their credit card in Spain, assuming that there was an incident at some of the larger processing sites in Spain that may have led to the loss of quite a lot of credit cards. Well, if you lose your credit card that way, then something like that may be the result. You still have your credit card with you, and like in the next receipt you're getting, then you suddenly see, strange, while I was in Hamburg and Vienna, someone with my credit card was shopping at Macy's. That ain't no good. The good news for you is you just say that wasn't me, and then you just get your money back and you get a new credit card. There are also lots of other informations being sold on the underground market. Whenever one of those more specialized groups comes across information that may yield money, but they don't know how to get the money, then they just put it online for sale. In this case, you can buy the access to, in most cases, corporate banking accounts that are normally for 10%, around about 10% of the money that is on there. And well, this then is good for operations that maybe don't know how to distribute Trojans or how to actually get this information, but they know how to deal with this case where they then can just siphon the money off the bank account and send it to Eastern Europe. You can buy all kinds of tools, but you can also buy all kinds of services. So when you want to start your own crime operation, then you can outsource things like services like botnet management to someone else who actually knows how to do that. If you want to DDoS someone, you can just rent that. You can ask, or you can get other people to inject iframes onto web pages that lead to your servers. Hacking passwords is being offered as a service, not only passwords for email services, but also now for Facebook and some other sites. All this is available as a service. So here, one nice example of DDoS that is being offered. For fairly cheap money, in this case, someone offers any kind of DDoS traffic from 10 gigabit to 100 gigabit. And, well, you can just contact those people, pay some money. Typically, it's just a couple of $100 per day. And then pretty much DDoS every site you don't want to see online off the planet. Yeah, for the tools, there, of course, is a fairly big marketplace as well. If you want to start your crime operation and you don't know how to write Trojans, well, then you basically just go and buy it. You can buy everything from the most complex, complete, toolkits with centralized management and everything, or you can just buy some specialty tools like maybe a custom packer or something like that. So then in this case, Shark is one of those tools where you can then just configure your own Trojan with a nice GUI, go through all the options, configure it the way you want, what kind of information should be taken from a machine, where should it be sent to. And then once you've done that, then you just need to distribute your Trojan. And there is also a central management that comes with this kind of console. For banking Trojans, you can very easily kind of add information to your Trojan for a specific bank, what it should do. Like in this case, config file for Limbo. Whenever the user is browsing to citibank.com, then in addition to the normal fields on a web page, it would present you the text: to prevent fraud, enter your credit card information, please, your ATM or check card number, expiration date, ATM PIN. And this is just part of the normal website. So this normally looks fairly legit to people, and many people actually fall for it. Here's another example with Topic, how it really looks like when you have Topic on your machine and you go to a website. Like with most banking Trojans, unless you're surfing to a website, they are doing absolutely nothing. They are just waiting for you to go someplace. And then you see, well, the SSL connection is on, and all the certificates are valid. The Trojan just places additional information inside your browser. So in this case, a couple of screens or a couple of fields asking for first name, last name, mother's maiden's name, card number, PIN, and a couple of other things. So the attacker in this case may have overdone it a little bit. And well, for the delivery of Trojans to machines, you probably still, probably most of you have seen one of those emails in one of the other forms, where an email comes just with a small attachment, which is like the real classic way of distributing Trojans. And it is still the most common way today. And most people just talk about drive-by downloads, but actually most Trojans are distributed by either direct email attachment or by providing URLs in emails. Then, well, those attacks, they range from like really dumb and really stupid to very specific to a small number of targets, to really specific to just one single target. In this case, an email that was being sent to one of our chief execs, where the exec is then targeted to download additional information about some kind of text statements. There was a wave of this sent around in the US a while back, targeting a couple of thousand bigger companies. And so the United States tax code actually put a warning on their top website that they didn't send out this email, and that they will never send out such a thing now or in the future. And well, those kind of really targeted spear phishing is still being used to attack governments, to attack other corporations. And normally this does not make the press. It only makes the press when, for example, I don't remember the name of the Trojan, when a botnet was uncovered, well, the botnet was only 1,500 machines, but all those 1,500 machines were in offices and in embassies of various governments around the world, where the attacker tried where the attack was tied to the Dalai Lama, where they tried to find out more information about what the various governments are maybe trying to plan with regard to Tibet. And well, the attack, well, let's say it originated from IP addresses within the Chinese web space, which doesn't necessarily mean it's coming from there, but it could. Then people also use like, yeah, all kind of current developments, especially tragedies, to deliver the malware. So whenever something big is happening, like Michael Jackson dies or Patrick Swayze dies, then people jump on it and start sending out spam messages. For one thing, trying to sell some products, and then also quite a lot of spam that just takes this strategy to lure people onto a website, to maybe look at a video that requires you to download an additional codec, which is the actual, then is the actual Trojan. All this is being used, and the black hats are using search engine optimization to also make sure that when you Google for those kinds of tragedies, that you will actually end up on bad pages. 2 days ago, there was a discussion of a fairly big incident where a couple of 100,000 machines were being compromised to place like some kind of fake blog on it, and those fake blogs were just written so that they were very attractive for a search engine to list. And also, when you browse to that site, they would actually check for the Google referrer. You would only be presented with the malware if you were coming via a Google search result. Yeah, then well, links are fairly popular. Links not only in emails, but also links within social networks. People have been attacked with those for years, and just, well, fairly recently with KubeFace, this actually got some attention, that it is now fairly common way to attack a person by sending him a link inside those Facebook, Xing, LinkedIn, whatever sites. And KubeFace automated this, so this was fairly known fairly fast. The way KubeFace works is when you have got an infected machine, it would send out such kind of message to all your Facebook friends, generic message like, you just look awesome in this new movie, or wow, you were pretty drunk yesterday. Something like that, where people think, what, a movie with me inside? It may be embarrassing, I better click on it. And when you then click on the link, then you're actually taking outside to some other site, where you in most cases are presented with something like this, secret video by Tom, and then getting a message, yeah, unfortunately your version of Flash Player is out of date, please download this update. And well, one giveaway is in most cases, all this is one picture, so wherever you click on it, you will see those small additional icons appearing, indicating it's a picture, not a movie. And well, when you click anywhere on this picture, then you're being offered a codec or something that at least looks like a codec that will then, when you open it, infect your machine. KubeFace has become fairly popular this year with quite a number of different variants that were racing throughout the Facebook network. Facebook is doing quite a good job in detecting and blocking those really fast. but they still take a couple of minutes to first discover an attack and then disable the links. So when you get one of those links and you're really fast, then you will still be able to get to the original page. Then another fairly common way nowadays to infect other people's machines or to deliver malware onto a machine is the autorun feature. The autorun feature has been completely ignored until Configure came. And actually Configure was just a very small tip of the iceberg. Here in this stat, the blue bars are all the queries or all the detections of Configure with regard to autorun, and the yellowish bars are the total number of attacks via autorun that we have been seeing. Autorun on USB sticks is something that is a little bit tricky to disable. Fortunately, it is very easy to disable it with Windows 7. And many people just never changed their settings. So many people are vulnerable to this as an infection vector. It became popular with Configure because this was the way how Configure got into a network in the first place. And then Configure tries to spread, so it's fairly obvious then inside your network. Most Trojans, they don't try to browse through your network. They just, do that Trojan thing, and then also try to copy themselves as autorun on everything that you're using on that machine. And, well, this was just a screenshot a couple of weeks ago in a bar in Prague where a woman came by and asked me, could you please copy like some files from a camera onto a USB stick? And okay, in this case it was a known Trojan. If I wouldn't have autorun disabled anyway, then just by being nice to a person, copying files from a camera to a USB stick would then already have infected my machine. And the lady was definitely not happy when I had to tell her that she has a major issue with her machine at home and should consider reinstalling it. And well, the most discussed way of distributing malware today is certainly by using a web attack. A web attack is where, well, the user is just browsing to some kind of website where either the website has some vulnerabilities and people broke into it, or the more common way nowadays is browsing to a website that has been pushed in Google results with the help of search engine optimization. And well, then you get an iframe pointing you to to a drive-by attack server. This would try a number of vulnerabilities depending on your browser, your operating system, etc. And in the case of Topic, it would then actually first download the first part of the entire attack, which is the MapRoot rootkit. MapRoot was the first rootkit that actually infects the master boot record and then keeps control from there on. And your machine will report to the MapRoot command and control server on a regular basis. And the first command from there will then be, here are the topic files, please download and install, which the MapRoot binaries will happily do. And then the real Trojan topic is then installed, injects itself in your browser and a couple of other applications. And then automatically, it's every 20 minutes, all the data that the Trojan has stolen is uploaded to the topic command and control server. And the machine is also getting updates over specific websites where topic should insert additional information when the user is browsing to it. In most cases, those are like the web shops and all the online banks. Yeah, hacking websites simply for the purpose of getting people redirected onto your attack server was a fairly common way 1 year ago. It is still a fairly common way today. I just tried like the same search, which just searches for a script in the title today. And 1 year ago, this search yielded 200,000 machines. Now it's still 100,000 machines. But those machines are normally like not really within the heavily traveled to place of the internet. Most of at least the bigger web servers have now been patched against being vulnerable to all those automated SQL injection attack that has been used to carry out this kind of attacks. So more common today is that people actually are doing some search for something on Google, and then the attackers have been using search engine optimization techniques instead of just breaking into websites. Well, but in this case, when they break into a website, they just place either an iframe or a call to a script, which then decrypts itself as an iframe onto the website, and then you're taken to some kind of attack server. So yeah, as I already have been mentioning, search engine optimization is really taking over from websites that just have been compromised. And it's like kind of hard for us to do something about that. It's probably more where search engines can try to figure out that well, malicious search engine optimization techniques have been used to prevent this kind of things from happening. Yeah, then on the attacked kits, it can fairly often happen that people, when they are being redirected to such an attack server, are presented with an O-Day. Those people who are commercially developing those attack kits are buying O-Days if they can, implementing them into their attack server, and then selling it as a service to their customers. Here's well, a couple of screenshots from an advertisement for one of those attack servers. Exploit 25 is certainly not like the most widely used or even the best attack toolkit, but it's still the only one where I've seen the advertisement in English instead of Russian. And well, this being then advertised in forums where it is offered for the equivalent of $2,500, and it comes complete with tech support. You can buy updates for it, and well, in case you'd like try to pirate it, then you will lose all support, updates, and guarantees, etc. And well, to start your career as a cyber criminal, then you just need a web server with a database. Just run the install file. Everything will run through, and then you just at the end see the message, replace file.exe with your file, maybe a Trojan that you've generated with one of the other Trojan packs, and start redirecting traffic to it, logging in, getting an overview over how many people have been visiting your sites, and how big the percentage of those that were actually infected. And well, for most attack kits, we see like effectiveness of something between 20 and 30% of all the machines that are hitting on that attack server that actually are getting compromised. And well, then one other thing that we have seen, well, becoming a bigger problem lately are those fake antivirus products. Many of you probably have seen one of those adverts that is like saying, yeah, your computer contains vulnerabilities or your computer is insecure. If you click on those ads, then something wants to run that is like scanning your computer for malware, and then typically it's finding something, telling you your computer is in real danger, Trojans found, everything, anything nasty is found, and then they offer to remove it or to continue unprotected. And removing those threats then actually means that you first have to go and buy this product, and this product is like completely bogus. What you get when you buy it is just something that disables the message to detect those evil Trojans that have been picked up before. And this has actually become a fairly big business. Well, where a colleague of mine was originally trying to track those websites just for the purpose of automatically downloading all new versions of it and adding detection for it. And we figured out, or we became aware that just because they are cyber criminals, that doesn't necessarily mean they have any clue about security. So one of those companies that is doing a fairly big business there is Innovative Marketing in the Ukraine. Here are the actual people who are running this business as a cybercrime. And well, while we were tracking the distribution sites, we came across portals, SharePoint servers that were completely connected, open to the internet without any additional information. Their asterisk phone system was available on the internet. And with a little bit more digging, we came across pretty much everything: employee lists, source codes, affiliate lists. And well, this kind of information then, well, we did present it at our focus conference last month, and a copy of those 63 gigabyte of total documentation that we got together was also presented to a couple of agencies. So if anyone here from Austrian police would be interested, then just come and see me afterwards. Basically, it's combined findings of what we had within this 63 gigabytes of information. We found out that over a 10-day time period, a total number of 4 million people tried to download the products. That is, 4 million people clicked on the ads and then were downloading the initial file that is then saying your computer is like really endangered, etc. There were around about 2 million inbound and outbound calls from their tech support department. And they did actually store all those calls as WAV files, which is like kind of funny to listen to such a tech support conversation. Where then someone calls in, yeah, I've got this product of you that is saying, but my normal scanner wouldn't let me run it. It is saying something like fake alert scareware. Yeah, you know, you cannot have two antivirus products running. Which antivirus products do you have? Okay, yeah, I help you with the deinstallation of the real antivirus products, and then the installation of these products will run through. And most people were actually fairly happy at the end of the call, and some were even saying, yeah, thanks, my machine is also slightly faster now, well, with no protection. And over, I think it was 11 months, we have also seen the order ID going up 4.5 million times, and they only increase the order ID every time they successfully sell a product. With an average price of $40 US, that totals to 180 million US dollars just in 11 months for this operation. Innovative Marketing Ukraine doesn't exist any longer, but there are a couple of other companies that have taken over, sometimes even with the same people, and they still prefer to not secure their systems, so we are happily tracking them. Yeah, and then, well, the latest development in malware is just depicted in, in two examples here. Normally, when you think about malware, you just think about like password stealing, keyboard logging, etc. This has become less lucrative for the criminals over time, in particular trying to get credit card information. Credit card used to be worth a couple of dollars 2 or 3 years ago. It is now worth 10 cents. So people are now trying different means to get at lucrative data. One that was mentioned in the media a while back is a Trojan called URL Zone. That Trojan, runs in the background, is pre-configured when a user is going to a certain banking site to automatically, whenever the user does a transaction, to do a completely different transaction to another place, and also hide those real transactions in your transaction statement. So while that Trojan is running, the user in his statement will see the transaction that he thinks he did, but really in the background, the Trojan did some completely different transaction. And I'm not sure if anyone of you have seen the Zeus human man in the middle interface yet. Here's what it looks like when a victim has this running on his machine. It contains information about a number of banks, not just Postbank, but also some others. And when a user then is browsing to his bank, he will first see, oh, we're doing like some kind of maintenance. Please wait for a while. This bar is then actually moving. And when this bar is over, then the user has to answer some mathematic questions for security reasons. The user may be thinking, oh, cool, additional security to make it impossible for someone to get at my information. After successfully or not, I think it doesn't matter if you provide the correct answer. Again, for security reasons, you are being asked for your phone number, and you need to verify that it is your phone number by, in this case, entering I-10 number 10 into the form. Then you get an acknowledgement that yes, your phone has been added successfully to your account number. And then when you finally try to do some online banking, unfortunately they are closed for maintenance. And well, there is obviously something happening in the background. Someone is sitting there staring at this very console, and when a customer logs into his banking site, they immediately get the login and the password, and they then use this and, well, basically all the mathematic questions and the maintenance thing before was just for the attacker to get time to also log into that account, get time to initiate a transaction, and then you need to verify, yes, it is me, I want to send this transaction with an I-10. So your bank is asking you for an I-10, and then it's where the operator is asking the victim for the I-10, whatever the bank originally asked from him. So this is a very successful attack against currently being used security measures by banks. Okay, then I've come to the end of this presentation. For more information, one thing that I would really recommend is our AVID Labs blog, which is like guaranteed no marketing. And well, then I thank you for your time.